Hello and welcome to the Billowing Hilltop podcast. Hello readers, we're off and underway into book 7, The Spire of Long Shadows. We hope you're enjoying the story. All the usual stuff about ratings and reviews applies, and we would love to hear from you via email, hello@billowinghilltop.com. You can find us on all the social channels as usual, and you can check out our Tumblr, billowinghilltop.tumblr.com, where you can see maps and the other handouts. We'll try and add those in as we go. That's it. I've got no other news or information, so let's push on with the story. We're about to meet Marcus Doombringer, and spoiler alert, Buggy doesn't get to hit anything again. In episode 103 of the Billowing Hilltop podcast, The Man with the Golden Sun.
So Burple has 6 level spells, but 6 level spells for the Bard are pretty shit.
I think so.
And he doesn't get any more 6th level, he only ever gets 1.
Oh right, he never gets 7th.
No, he gets 7th, but he only ever gets 1 7th, and 1 6th,
Yeah, but-
2 5th. You know, it used to be that the number of spells per level go up a level. As you go up levels, you get another 3rd level spell or something. But
What sort of spells are you looking at? 6th level, pretty juicy.
the one I chose was Otto's Irresistible Dance.
Hmm.
Because it's basically, it binds you around no save.
Yeah. What other spells have you got though? I mean, there's some really good ones at 6th.
Well, he also gets this thing called Magical Secrets, which means he can take spells of of other classes.
Oh,
So he gets 2 spells of other
Christ.
classes. So I've taken Haste and Wall of Force. Might
Nice.
change
It's
Wall
too
of
hot
Force.
to play D&D.
It is too hot to play D&D, except it's not too hot to play D&D.
Thank God for the Mankinis. Otherwise, I mean, it's a little...
It's never too
Fashion
hot to
always
play
comes
D&D.
back round.
I think we add them to the merch store.
Yeah.
I think that's the answer.
Not even wearing a mankini.
The little D20 bit of the logo is very strategically placed.
Yeah. It's a very small dice.
Well, yeah,
I'm
that's okay.
That's
sitting
what
here
they've
in
said
the
about
nappy.
you for years, Paul.
The important
Thank you very
thing
much.
is that it covers the tip. I think that's where we are nowadays as a culture.
just always bring it down to the lowest level, don't you?
Well, I've tried to, but it keeps snapping back into place. Right, should we play some D&D?
D&D? I was just noting that you've turned us into a group of superheroes, Mike.
What?
When was that?
When you gave us the magic items, so we can now all fire lightning and thunder and fly.
Yes, that's right, I suppose. Lucas, tell us about... We need to do your levelling up. Tell us
Yes.
about Parker. Tell us about his levelling up. And then we can go into this shambolically underprepared session.
Yeah. hang
So
on.
take as long as you like, basically. That's what I'm
I've
saying.
got-
This beer is very welcome, Paul.
Actually, you
Drinking a
didn't very
pint of
much
white
as
wine
a
spritzer.
A pint of white wine spritzer.
Very cold, very weak, and very delicious.
Say again, Lucas.
I completely forgotten it. I did it before I went away, and now I'm
You've
just
spent
like,
a long
Yes.
time preparing for this.
There's
No.
going to be an awful lot of that
What
this evening, I
happened?
suspect. I'm running out of beer. I need to go
no,
and get another
10th
one.
level monk is very boring, unfortunately.
11th.
No, because he's 1 level of druid.
Oh, he's done. He
Yeah.
made that critical error.
Yes.
Luke, if you're listening, yeah, it's all starting to come back to haunt him. So what happens for 10th level monk then?
I completely forgot. Google.
Here we go. There's got to be something.
Come on. Did he get any hit points?
Extra +1 to hit.
No, the D8 you don't get until next level. Oh, that's right. I'm immune to poison and disease, and I can now move 20 foot faster than normal. So
Well, that's pretty
Increased
cool. The
speed.
poison immunity.
yeah, that's
That
brilliant.
is pretty cool.
Yeah.
How fast are you now? You're not faster than me, I hope.
Must be.
Yeah, it's going
Must
to
be.
be.
Must have gone up to
I'm-
90, hasn't it? Or something
I can
ridiculous.
move.
Standard walking speed is 60.
Right.
Almost as fast as me.
It's
Yeah,
not
but
quite
that's-
as impressive
70.
as the bard
Yeah,
Yeah,
level.
but if I
70.
was wearing your boots of whatever they are,
Well, tell
When
me
I
when
do
you get a
long
bit
stride
faster,
and
and
then
then
moves
I'm saying
up
the
to
bard
stop the
levelling up
conversation.
was much more impressive than the barbarian cleric levelling up.
Yeah,
Cleric barbarian.
yeah, absolutely.
That I do remember from last time. I can't remember what we did last time, but I do remember that. The fact that Johnny is forced to pick from the kids menu every time he levels up because he's split.
Well,
That
I'm
makes me
actually. I think Paul's got a point there. I'm actually more cleric than barbarian now,
You are.
Yeah.
and you know
Yeah,
what that
yeah.
means, don't you?
No. I'm not.
Yes, it does.
Well, it
I'm not
means you're
getting
the
into this.
junior
It means
cleric.
I'm no longer standing at the front, right?
You never were.
You're the
All
acolyte.
your
In
Right,
fact, I
yeah.
think the bard
You're an
is
acolyte,
sort of
in
roped
fact.
so you can go at the front.
The words no longer are doing an awful lot of work in that sentence, Johnny.
Grosso bard and go at the front.
Bard is the primary spellcasting resource. You can't put the arcane
No, you've got the
spellcaster
swords.
at the
Don't
front.
And the junior
sorry,
cleric
Paul,
has to stand
trying
in front of the senior cleric.
Yeah, but who's
and
the
debase
president?
himself.
Me, I'm Mr. President.
No, you're the junior cleric. You're the
No, you're
guy
the
that
president's
gets
assistant.
the one that carries
Chief
the
of staff.
holy water and the.
The altar boy.
You're the altar boy.
But he carries the thermos flask.
I'll go to fun.
Cup of tea
As
in
long as
it.
I don't have to put up with that crap.
That's literally.
It's all right. I'm
Johnny
geared up to fight.
Johnny, you've spent 11 levels trying to avoid
Spent?
being at the front.
No. I'm going to fight. It's okay.
no.
It's okay.
No.
It's all okay.
Eligos.
Ah, yes, Eligos.
Eligos. Lucas.
On a jet.
On a jet plane.
Everyone
But no
knows
seats,
Chiz
no.
Chun. Lucas, what they did was they fought some suspiciously space-like people.
Mm.
Oh
We've
yeah.
actually got quite a lot to
It's
tell
gone
Lucas, haven't
Mike.
we?
It's gone Mike. It's gone all Mike. This whole thing has
Hasn't-
gone Mike.
No,
With the space
no,
people.
It's gone. No. It's what it's gone is it's gone pulp, right? And that's the Paizo thing. They love pulp. They love those kind of themes and ideas and stuff.
I thought it was a bit weird.
Cuthbert Ouchsplinter appeared as a sort of projection outside the entrance of the Whispering Cairn and asked the gang for the fragment of the Rod of Law.
Right.
Which we
Also,
obviously all
for what
agreed
reason?
he should have, because he's such a good and trusted
Yeah.
friend.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or the other option may have been picked. You were offered the gems, the 2 gems that you had actually dropped that Cuthbert had picked up from before,
The
right?
diamonds.
One of the gems is in the effects of Parker. The other 2, Cuthbert had, a little quasit or something popped into existence and had a little chest, and the chest was opened and there was a space for the rod to go in, and the 2 gems were proffered as an exchange. You said absolutely not, but not before Burple had mage-handed one of the gems out of the chest, which is, I presume, is who's got that one?
Burple will have that one.
Burple can have that one.
So Burple's got one, Parker's got one, the other one remained in the chest, the quasit again out when you refused the bargain, and then weird creatures warbled in from another dimension and attacked you, and they were, I have to say, I think they were rubbish.
Hopeless.
Yes,
They were
really.
Took any damage at all.
And it
but
was weird.
they were pretty
Not even
hopeless.
memorable,
And
really.
they also looked reluctant. It actually looked like they were like, okay, if we've agreed to, fine. And they just didn't want to do it. But they had sort of weird paraphernalia on them. No, that sounds like...
It's not weird. It's just spacesuits and space guns. Nothing weird at all.
There we go.
Nothing to
That's
be
what
seen
you
here.
kind of... We're not certain about that. It's not explicitly stated
Well,
that they're
it
spacey
is.
people. But certainly, reading between the lines, it seemed a bit spacey. And I'm sure by the time that our readers hear this, they'll already have heard
Do our
last
characters
episode
have any-
and the stupid spacey music we stick over the top.
Do our characters have any concept of what spacey people are? I mean,
No, which is why it wasn't described in said terms. It
Right.
was just done like these things have artifacts on them, and the manufacture of them looks very strange, basically.
okay.
Can I just point out, Dan, that
No.
don't forget the gems have some sort of homing beacon on.
Yeah, well, they can also if they can track the Rod of Law, they can they can track us. So we need
That's right.
we need to somehow mask the rod and remove the tracking from the gems.
Let's
Is
talk
there some
about
sort
that.
of container that we can put them in? I think we were talking
bag of
about.
holding.
Yes.
Well, let's talk about that in a minute. Let's catch Lucas up on what happened after that. Having defeated the strange people, you all headed north. Lucas, look at the map. Look at the lovely map that we're on.
Yeah.
Are you looking at the lovely map, Lucas?
There's mountains
Okay.
on the right-hand side, and Frostanger,
Frosthanger
the lake of the
is some
cold
kind of city on the
sky.
northern shore of this giant lake called the Lake of the Cold Sky. But on the southern shore is the little town / village of Truespire. And just off the coast is Truespire Island. And on Truespire Island, there is a kind of wizard's tower that exactly resembles the Sorcerer's Spire in Evenstar, which is the home of magical study.
Mhm.
Truespire is very nice. You can feel the magic in the air. You were guided into town by a fox that you met at the town sign, and the fox guided you to the All-Seeing Eye, which is a large and well-appointed inn in town. You were led through the bar. There's all sorts of stuff going on there, into a little antechamber, and there were 3 people. One of them was an elderly gentleman wearing the regalia of a priest of Tonj, the all-seeing eye. And the other figure was a very capable-looking elven woman in dark, road-weathered traveling clothes, like a kind of capable, adventure-y, fighty type person. And then the third person standing up, turning to you as you entered and saying, "Hello, how nice it is to see you again," was Eligos. That is where we left things.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yiddle, diddle, diddle-diddle-diddle-diddle-ding. Eligos is delighted to see you. She introduces you to the other two figures. The elven woman is called Bondi, and she introduces herself as effectively a sort of, well, an assistant, an attendant to Marcus Doombringer, who is the patron, the lord of this little community.
Right.
He dwells, does his research, does his work out on Truespire Island in his magical spire. She seems a little off with you, like she's been told she needs to talk to you, she's been told she needs to be civil, but she doesn't really think that you're worth the effort. The elderly gentleman is called Agath of Thrunch. He is, I did not make that name up, that came straight out of the adventure, no need to change it for once. Agath of Thrunch resurrected Eligos. Agath is you can just tell he is just imbued with the power of Tonj, big time, right? Mm-hmm. He resurrected Eligos. He also seems a bit skeptical about you. He also seems like, I wouldn't have had to resurrect Eligos if you lot knew what you were doing, basically. Eligos, on the other hand, is massively positive about you. She does the introductions. Let's not try and rehash everything that you've done, where you are with all this. First of all, because none of you can remember. Second of all, because everybody's heard it too many times. But she basically talks them through your experiences thus far. She tells you that Garth is in town, Garth South Portal, as is Bonce Bompa Ompa, who was also resurrected by Agath of Thrunch. They're off in the village somewhere. They're staying in the inn at the moment, as is Eligos. You're all there because Eligos feels that you need to take what you know, and she needs to accompany you and talk to Doombringer, because Doombringer is the logical next step in terms of trying to find an ally, trying to find a source of wisdom and power that can help you with what you're doing. That is, in a nutshell, why we're here. Mm-hmm. You've also been told to come do this by Isbud, who told you to come this way. Basically said, "Find Doombringer, he can help you.
Help me, Doombringer, you're my only hope."
Yeah, basically. Doombringer is busy, but he will probably be able to see you tomorrow, and they will accompany you out to see him. Other than that, let me just check my copious handwritten notes. There's not much to be said. You can rest and recuperate, stay at the inn. Their view is that you are safe. If you relate your, for example, your encounters with Cuthbert, there's a good question. Do you share your recent escapades with them?
Yes.
You talk to them about the rod or not?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes,
Absolutely.
we say we need some kind of receptacle to mask
All
it.
of their eyes widened when you mentioned the rod. I mean, that really is seriously another level. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well,
so
we are on another level.
Well, you are another level. Yeah, you are literally on 11th level. Agath and Bondi's skeptical approach is mitigated a little by this revelation. But they're kind of like, okay, well, it's a bit like the bit in Armageddon where Bruce Willis and his crew turn up for the first time for astronaut training, and the guy goes to talk about the wrong stuff. They're looking at you like that. They're looking at you like, who are these people? You just look like a ramshackle bunch of idiots, which we all know you are.
With a glowing set of magical artifacts.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Glowing set of magical artifacts, conical heads, enormous eyebrows. But Eligos is a big supporter of yours. She says that while you're within the bounds of Truespire, you're probably safe from the Outsplinters and from anybody else trying to track the rod, because there is literally magic in the air. There is a weird, enhanced magical field that emanates from the spire and affects everything around it. And while you're dealing with Doombringer, you're going to be fine. But yes, she will see if she can find anything. There is a well-stocked library of lore in Truespire. She will apply herself to finding whether or not there is some kind of container or mechanism or technique that you might use to shield the rod from scrutiny. Is that what you need?
Yes. And be quick about it.
I think the other thing is,
I certainly shall, Uncle Buggy.
I want to remove the magical traces from... How many gems? Did we get both gems?
No, you only got the one. You've got one, and then you've got the one that Parker's always had with him.
Nice
Okay,
try,
so
Dan.
we want to remove. We want the magical traces from those. Does the dispel magic work? Maybe the priesty guy of Tonge can use his.
Are you putting your 2 spheres out on the table for them to inspect?
Yes.
Yeah, slapping your jewels out onto the table.
Yeah.
They all crane forward to inspect your jewels.
They're not that impressive.
And their feeling is that a simple dispel magic is probably not sufficient, but that the magical effect of Truespire probably means that anybody who was using the gems to either trace you or to scry upon you or whatever would not be able to do so. But that's only a judgment, they're not certain. And likewise, Agath of Thrunch and Eligos both undertake to do a little bit of research. They have heard of these jewels. It's a well-known technique by the Outsplinters to use these gems.
Okay.
They'll see what they can find out. Otherwise, you're free to do what you want to do. And they're waiting to hear from Truespire as to when Doombringer has a little bit of time in his busy diary.
Right. Well,
Can he find
they
a
got any
window in his
ale
diary?
here? I'm going to get a
Yes,
few mugs.
they have ale.
See how much I can
Your room
drink.
and your board are all
Pay for.
compliments of Doombringer. Yeah,
Ooh.
help yourselves.
Right. Well, I'll go for the strongest ale. And
Eligos kind of looks at you from under her fringe, Buggy, and says, everything is compliments of Doombringer, but don't,
I do a
you
loud burp.
Is there a magic shop?
Most things are findable. The timings may be difficult.
Can I
the
sell?
issue here is
I have a meta magic
You-
rod that I want to.
you could certainly agree a sale. Yeah, it's more about the timing. So Truespire has only got a population of 530, but it's an unusual 530. It's like it's not one of those awful gated communities in Surrey, right, where everybody's loaded.
Yeah.
It's like it's a small place, but there's an awful lot of money. These awful people, adventurers. Do you know what I mean? They would be awful, would they not? They would just be awful. In real civilian life, you'd just be like, oh God, is it gonna? You'd be invited to a party, and it'd be like, oh God, are they going to be there? Do you know what I mean? They're all really loaded, constantly trying to outdo each other. That reminds me very much of the time. All of that business. You can arrange a sale. There's not like a magic shop, but there's an informal network that Eligos is connected to. She can find you people that might take something off your hands, and if you've got something specifically that you'd like to purchase, she could do the introductions that might be required in the local community to find something for you. The issue is not about the price or the rarity. The issue is about the time it takes to get stuff. So this may not be something that's like done now. It may be something that's done over the course of, well, I don't know. We'll see what you want to
That's fine. I want to
transact.
I just want to get rid of this rod. I don't need it. Unless anyone else wants it.
Fine.
What's it do?
It's meta magic rod, so area effect spells do maximum damage.
Okay, yeah. Don't
The
really have
fireballs
any of
do.
them.
Actually, they don't do quite maximum. You get to re-roll as many dice as you want. 3 charges.
You've used it, haven't you?
Yeah.
I remember you using it. Yeah, I remember you re-rolling dice on stuff. Well, I mean,
Got these swords now.
whatever you want to do. You got your swords, don't need it. Okay. Well, Eligos undertakes to ask about. She's interested in, or we've discussed this, but she's interested in your adventures. She's interested in, obviously, she doesn't know anything about the whole Rackian situation, right? The hacker, all of that stuff. Well, she's heard some
Well, we can
stuff
fill
from
her in.
Garth South Portal, but she wasn't there. So she's very interested to hear all of that. And you can sit up till late in the All-Seeing Eye on Doombringer's tab, basically.
Okay.
You've got very well-appointed rooms.
Nice.
Agath of Thrunch heads off at a certain point. He's not really, a clubbable, sociable type. Bondi...
Unless it's the middle of the day. Around about Thrunch time. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, come on.
Not bad.
Bale of
It's
straw
not bad.
blowing across the dusty road. Lone bell
chimes
tolls
in the distance. Bondi doesn't hang about. She inclines a sort of more respectful head to you as she leaves. She's got a different attitude than when you arrived, but she heads off. She says that she's off to Truespire Island, and she'll return when Doombringer is ready to see you. There you go.
Great.
Anything else you want to do?
Well, I'm going to
Little
eat and
replenish the
drink as
cheese?
much as I can.
You could have a tour of the kitchens if you like sessions.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
There's a multi-armed barkeep, and there are a couple of multi-armed cooks.
Very
chefs.
handy.
Very super handy.
Surely the cheese caverns.
Yes, I mean that.
Yes, they take you through all 3 types of cheese that are available.
I will stock up on a little bit of each so that we have variety.
Right, yes, giant.
Where's Marcus Doombringer supposed to reside? I didn't catch that.
In the tower.
In the Spire on Truespire
Oh,
Island.
right.
Yeah, listening back to this is going to be an embarrassing
Yes,
listen
it
for you,
is.
Lucas. But yeah,
It's always going to be.
you're obviously doing something
always-
else completely. You're obviously in another part of Switzerland or something. I don't know, yodeling or putting on your dirndl.
No, I
not
just
dirndl.
hadn't caught that bit.
Refitting the Lederhoder.
Lederhoder.
Yeah, Lederhoder.
You were putting on your dirderhodel up. Were you slapping your thighs? Were you
Edelweiss, eh? Hey, Edelweiss.
rattling a cowbell? Well, that's where he lives. Back at 24 hours passes, 48 hours passes. You start to get a little bit bored. Eligos hasn't heard back about the metamagic rod. She does spend a little time leaving you to your own devices, doing a bit of research in the Truespire library. Not the famed library in the Spire itself, but the local library in Truespire. She is more confident, having spent a little time doing some research, that you are safe from being scryed or tracked either through the rod or through the gems while you're within the bounds of the magical
Yeah, but
field.
we want to know when we're outside Truespire. How do
And
we get
also,
there? I think.
frankly, you've been tracked to get here. So
That's right.
it's not about... They would know
Can-
where you're going.
She says that Doombringer may know more about the rod and how easy it is to track the rod and how you might protect yourself from being tracked through the rod. Definitely Burple, as we discussed last time, again a thing that I vaguely remember, I hope I remember correctly. You definitely, Burple, get more of a sense of this thing being connected to the greater universe through some sort of magical whatever than the others who just see it as being a fragment of a sort of, broken bit of metal-y stuff.
Mm-hmm.
The gems, Eligos says that there are ways of removing the enchantment on them. It's not dispel magic, and you'd probably have to leave them with her, but she might be able to find somebody to do it, or Doombringer. Again, all roads lead to... Well, not roads, because he's on an island, but all boats lead to Doombringer. It's very possible that he will know. Doombringer's an odd character, she says, when this comes up. Tread carefully with Doombringer. Just be careful, because he's first of all, he's very old, he's very wise, he's done everything.
We all know that. He's extremely powerful.
He's slow to trust people, but he can appear to be very friendly, and you just got to be careful, chaps, because I know Doombringer. I studied under him when I studied in Evenstar, as did Hesty. They've since fallen out. I'd like to think that I know him better than most, but even I know that I only know 5% of what he's really like. You just got to be careful. That's what I'm saying. But he is our only and best hope. So, there we are. The day rolls around.
Our only hope.
Well, best and only hope that she knows of. It's a giant world, but we've got to take the opportunities that are placed in front of us.
Right.
And this is the best opportunity I know of. He will tell you more, but he has some direct experience, understanding of the threat that we face. He's only intimated that to me. He's not gone into details, but I'm sure we'll all learn a lot more when we go and see him, which you can do the next day. Next morning, Bondi is sitting downstairs in the main bar of the inn as you come down for breakfast.
Commander Bondi.
You don't know what her rank is, but her name is Bondi.
Is it? Miss Bondi.
It's Bondi.
Miss Bondi.
It's the standard breakfast setup, by the way.
Yeah.
Quiet men in heavy jewellery eating fried breakfasts.
Nice.
Okay. Is there a buffet?
No, it's that thing where it's like, would you like toast? Brown or white?
Yeah.
Yes, would you like toast, brown or white? Eggs, scrambled, fried, what would you like?
Poached.
Powdered.
All a little bit awkward, everybody's a little bit quiet. But Bondi is waiting for you, and after breakfast she says that she can take you out to the island, that Doombringer is ready to see you.
Oh, do you expect us to come with you, Miss Bondi?
I think that would be wise.
Oh, okay.
Let's head
He's
down
our only hope, so I
to
thought he was going to go
the
and take on the bad
docks.
guys.
I'm there.
She says, to level with you, people, Marcus has not shared much with me. If you feel that he is your only hope, I think that you may be misunderstanding the situation. The situation is that Marcus may be able to point you in the right direction, may be able to give you help, But Marcus is not going to charge off into the future as a lone avenger or saviour. That's not his style.
So he's not our only hope then, really, is he?
He's your he can act as your mentor, and he can supply you with things that you may need.
So we're our only hope. That's what I'm saying.
Yes.
That's the only point I'm making.
Are they going to...
You know what? You're not miles off. You may be our only hope. Astonishing though it seems, she says, as she sort of regards you and has to look down to see Sessions and Buggy.
Yes, can we have a bit more respect, please, now that we're our only hope?
You may be our only hope, but Marcus is who you need to turn to get yourself put onto the right road to try and save us all.
Right.
That's what
Excellent.
she says. If you're ready,
Yeah, we're
and
ready.
she heads
Yeah.
off. She takes you down to the docks. Truespire itself, it's like Hesty's garden. Birds' song is sweeter, the temperature is warmer, it feels like eternal spring. When you get to the docks, mist gathers at the lakeshore.
Oh, misty morning.
You can't see Truespire Island very well. You can sense its bulk out there in the mists. Suddenly it's very quiet. All of the sort of warm, friendly bustle of the town has been left behind you. You're standing at this lakeshore. The water is very gently lapping around the little stone apron of beach. And you hear the rhythmic kind of splash of oars. And a boat emerges from the misty gloom in front of you. It is like the rib cage of a giant creature. It's like the ribs of the boat are like the ribs of some sort of giant skeleton. And built into the prow of the boat is a figure that effectively emerges from the prow. So it has no legs, it just stretches from the prow. It's like a giant skeletal torso propelling this boat towards you with these huge oars. As it pulls up towards the beach, as it slides up across the shingle, the skeleton's giant head turns to regard you. It's got blue carbuncle eyes that glitter, glow as it regards you. Sitting at the back of this boat, comfortably take 10 to 12 people, this thing. There is a little scrapply gnome character at the tiller. The gnome says, "You must deal with the ferry white," points at the skeleton, and then a plank slides out from the side of the boat, drops down into the shingle. You've got an opportunity to board. Would you like to board the boat?
Yeah.
Oh, we're back in passive Paul territory.
What do you mean, passive Paul territory? Yes, I'd love to board the boat. Thank you very much indeed. I'm going to waltz on down
How do we deal with the white?
If you step onto the boat, you can see straight away that there is a little bowl built into the
give him a coin. It's like the river
stanchion, as it were, beneath this ribcage of this white. All the white is his arms, a ribcage, and a head built into the prow of the boat.
Toss a copper piece.
Written around the bowl on the little shelf that it sits on, it says, "My price is for you to decide, and for my master to judge." And the little gnome at the back says, "You must pay the white before we can make the journey."
Okay.
How much?
Doombringer.
1 copper piece.
I'll put a gold.
What do you want to do?
I'm
The
gonna-
bowl's just sitting
I'm
there.
going to put a gold piece in the bowl. Drop it in.
All right.
2
I'll put
silver
gold
pieces.
piece.
The plank starts to slide back into the boat. Is everybody clambering on board?
Yeah.
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 The plank slides in and becomes a bench. You can all sit, and the ferry white starts rowing, pulls you away from the shore, pulls you off. No, it doesn't.
Oh, Mike.
And starts to row you, scull you, if you pardon the pun, through the mist out to the island. It gets colder and colder. You can feel, especially you, Burple, who seems to have become oddly sensitive to this stuff, you can feel bands of magical force concentrating as you approach the island. And the island's about a mile offshore, so it's a bit of a journey. You know when you put iron filings around a magnet and you get those bands of force? Yeah? It feels like that. It feels like you're being kind of pulled in. It feels like the boat is following these contours in towards the island. You feel the hairs on the backs of your necks start to rise, especially in Buggy's case, obviously, absolutely absurd. Just like it's like one of those kind of Renaissance priests with those enormous ruffs. Yeah? His hair is all sticking out.
I kind of picture
Bald head.
Buggy with a huge blonde mullet.
Like a tribble.
After what seems like an age, this methodical, regular rhythm of the oars. You push your way through the mist. You every now and again sense presences out in the mist, things rolling across the surface of the water, almost made out of mist. Giant figures. Not sure what's going on there. Never close enough for you to make out anything specific. You pull up to a dock on the island. Waiting on the dock is the fox, or at least it looks exactly like the fox that led you into town a couple of days ago. Crackles, it was called. And Crackles, with its tail, beckons you forward as you disembark. Do you embark and disbark?
Disembark.
As you disembark from the boat, Crackles leads you through a gateway. On either side of the gateway, like a stone arch, there are golems. Stone golems in armour, impassive, immobile, standing on either side of this archway. Crackles leads you through into a courtyard. It's always spring in Truespire, but here it feels like it's autumn. The mist still clings to everything. There's the smell of bonfire smoke, which is slightly disquieting because that's got memories of the Grey Woodsman and all of that. And there are autumn leaves being blown about and crunching underfoot. He takes you through a large, old-school wooden doorway into a very plain, circular chamber. At the base of the spire, there's a spiral staircase that winds its way round the inner wall and obviously heads up into the rest of the spire. In the centre of the chamber, there is a disc of stone that seems to be floating at the top of a hole, so almost filling it like a plug. And Crackles beckons you onto it. Are you doing what Crackles says?
Yes.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
The disc descends slowly and silently down and down.
Weird that you don't go up into the spire.
Down a stone shaft.
Looks like we're going down into the spire.
You don't pass any other entrances or
Indeed.
exits. You don't pass any windows or portholes or
Yep.
anything. Bondi doesn't say a word as you drop into the darkness.
Mm.
You must be deep into the rock, maybe right at the bed of the lake. There's a weird moment where you drop through an incredibly bright light and you realise that you've basically dropped through a representation of the sun. You've gone through it and you're now beneath it. As this disc finally settles, it's completely dark, but you are surrounded by the orbiting celestial bodies of the Hearth system.
What a bloody show off.
It's like the orrery, Parker.
Right.
In fact, it's very like your experience of the time that the orrery sort of sprung to life during the conjunction.
Right.
When it populated the room, the space you were in, with this animation of the solar system, or of the Tonge system, as all of these planets and celestial bodies rotate around you. Bondi doesn't blink an eye at this. Standing off to one side of the platform when it comes to rest are Agath of Thrunch and Elikos. Their faces bathed by the light of Tonge as you stand there. And Bondi sort of looks at you and just gently takes that mind the gap little step off the platform and onto the floor of the main chamber and kind of beckons you to follow. Do you follow?
Of course.
Yep.
Agath looks at you, and despite the fact that he's been, I would say, not hostile, but certainly cold to you so far, he cannot disguise his joy, enchantment at this representation of his deity, of Tonge, and all of this majesty all around you. Is it not magnificent? He says, as he looks around at all of this. He sort of casts his arm around to kind of encompass all of this spectacle. Eligos just looks archly over his shoulder at you, as in, listen to this old man, he's just bamboozled by anything. Bondi says one thing, and Eligos goes, oh yes, of course, one thing. And Bondi says, Marcus is what we call a dispersonality. That means that his mind is dispersed through multiple manifestations, little physical creatures. There is a core of Marcus that's in a single being, but when you're dealing with Marcus, you're dealing with all of the little manifestations amongst which he's dispersed his personality, hence dispersonality. Agath Thrunch goes, it's very good, dispersonality. So just be mindful that when you're talking to Marcus or talking to, they're called wits, these little things, that he's all around you, and different bits, different parts of his mind are represented and split up into all of these different forms. Just bear that in mind. At which point, the lights go on.
Oh.
The solar system disappears. You're in a chamber about 100 feet across, cylindrical, ceilings about 30 feet. You're surrounded on all sides by windows that look out over the bed of the lake. The floor is white, everything is smooth. There are walkways across pools that divide up the floor, and one specifically leads off towards an area, a raised area with a desk that's absolute chaos, covered in papers and covered in glassware, retorts and tubes and bubbling equipment and all of the standard, sorcerers, wizards, laboratory stuff. And sitting in a chair there, hidden in shadow, there is some sort of figure who says, "Hey, Commander Bondi, you have brought company with you."
Set up.
On the desk, you realise there are little figures. A couple drop down off the edge of the desk, hang drop down, start padding across the bridge between the little pools towards you and beckon you forward. On either side, you realise there's another couple of figures. One's larger, looks like a kind of, well, it actually looks very like the Quasit that was sent to you by the Outsplinters, but clearly isn't. More of a bluish kind of hue, but it's fluttering about. There's another figure that's like what are they called? Intellect Devourer. It's like a brain on all fours that's kind of wiggling about, wandering around. And they're all sort of busy around this figure hidden in the shadows. Behind the figure in the shadows, there's something very odd going on. Some kind of figure or form, almost like a golem or something, but that's made out of some material that you just cannot identify. It seems to be physically held together by some kind of huge I don't know, you don't really understand magnetism, but by some enormous electromagnetic force that just sort of keeps it together. But you can sense its power, you can sense its crushed nature. Like any disturbance, you feel like you would just be pulled straight into it and crushed. You can almost feel its mass and gravity pulling you towards it. That's looming behind this figure at the desk. Yeah, everybody happy with
Neutronium
so far?
A neutronium golem.
Well, I mean, I don't know, but some kind of strange creature.
A neutronium golem.
Fish idly
Finally
swim
got to have one.
by the windows as they look out onto the lake. The two little figures beckon you forward. Bondi turns to you. He says, "Oh, he's got his wits about him today."
Oh,
And
dear, oh, dear, oh, dear, oh.
You're
dear.
You're beckoned forwards
God's sake.
towards the desk.
It's just a long, shaggy dog story, isn't it?
It really
Couple-
was.
couple of week gag.
Yeah, that was
All that for a
far too
dodgy
long.
gag.
Just rubbish.
How many weeks has this been in the making?
Well, I mean, one. The
You came up with that, and then you had to do all the back bit, didn't you? You came up with the end bit, and then you.
No, it's all flavour. It's all flavour. It's good.
Yeah, it's fine.
Well, isn't it in the
It's great.
in the adventure that you purchased?
No, in the adventure, this is Tenser who you're meeting, otherwise known as Manzorian. But I just thought we aren't going to do that. And he's not in a spire.
Manzorian?
I don't understand Greyhawk lore, but basically, Tenser, who we've all know the name of from the disc and all of that business, is AKA Manzorian, and is one of the 8, including Big B and Liamund and whatever, who are all part of the original Gygaxian
Yeah.
Greyhawk D&D lore. Where were we? You're led across this, as it were, this kind of bridge, this causeway between these two pools of water. Fish idly swim past the vista windows all around you towards this desk. Behind the desk, it's quite difficult to work out what you're looking at. The first impression that you get is that you're looking at the gnome that was helming the boat that brought you out here. The figure is sitting on a little stool, not that kind of stool, Dan, behind the desk, and it's certainly of the same stature. It certainly seems gnome-like. It's wearing Hesty's dressing gown, or rather, it's wearing the same dressing gown that on Hesty is let's face it, an unsettlingly revealing garment. On this figure, whichever, is this Marcus? Is it a bit of Marcus? You just don't know what you're dealing with. But on this figure, it's a flowing robe. You realise actually that it's not sitting, it's standing. This robe is kind of flowing down around it. The figure moves towards you. You can't tell whether or not the stool that it's standing on or the platform or whatever it is standing on is sort of gently gliding towards you, or it itself is moving towards you, or if weirdly your sense of perspective and distance is slightly being fucked around with, and it seems to be getting closer, a bit like somebody kind of playing around with the pull zoom thing on a camera. There's a slightly odd moment where you just feel you're kind of getting closer to it and you can't work out quite how you're getting closer to it. It's got one green eye. The other eye is a little face, like a little
smiley
round,
face,
stylized, carved face that swivels and seems to act independently. It's kind of observing you, moving like the eye of a chameleon, that independent movement. It's looking at you in turn, whilst the main countenance takes you all in. Can somebody give me a perception check?
A dice roll.
Perception, eh?
Let's roll a dice, roll a dice, roll a dice, roll a dice.
How'd you roll the dice again?
14.
You know what? You can either do a
18.
perception check or a straight intelligence, whichever you prefer.
Purple
21.
gets 18.
An
Sessions
18,
gets 21
okay.
perception.
Alessandra gets a 20.
Sessions, you got a 21, that's very good. Burple, you got an 18, that's very good. Alessandra, you've got a 20.
It's good, but not as good as Sessions.
Not as good as Sessions. Set up away to the side on this giant desk, there is a dragon chess game.
Oh. Is there any significance of dragon chess?
Well, it's a very popular game. It's the darling game of the intelligentsia. It's regarded as being the game of intellectuals, a true test of the strategic mind. That's not what has caught your interest in itself. What's caught your interest, what has sparked your memory, is that it's the same game that Hesty had set up in his house. It's the other side of the board.
Right.
Like JF Sebastian and Tyrell.
Yeah. So they're playing at range.
But it looks like it's long abandoned.
Yeah.
The figure behind the desk notices you notice the dragon chess game, and it says, Commander, I haven't got a voice for this guy. Commander Bundy, it says. It's enough from you. Off you go. Yes, Commander Bundy. Thank you, Commander Bundy. Yes. This game of dragon chess you see here, it's not been played in 20 years. Hesty Testapod. Yes. You know him, yes?
Yes, we've met.
Yes.
Something's happened to Hesty.
Again?
Something happened 20 years ago.
Oh, yeah.
Game has long been abandoned. We have become estranged from each other.
Right.
I don't understand it. And neither do my witch. The little creatures there, all around you, kind of scratch their heads. Go,
Yeah, I don't know what they are.
it's a mystery to me. It's a mystery. Something happened to Hesty Burple. You are Burple Herpish. Is that
Yes.
correct?
Yes.
Bring forth the fragment of the rod that you have. Place it in front of me on the desk, please.
Okay. I'll do that.
I covet this very much. I must have it. I must take it from you. But we will talk of this later. You will be compensated. Something is strange with Hesty Testapod. Something that I think relates to you, Burple, but I am not certain of the answer. But he has not been the same for 20 years. Something has gone on there. And he has abandoned our game. It bothers me that he abandoned our game. Eligos! Marcus, come forward. Talk to us. Talk to us about Hesty Testapod. What is it? What has happened with Hesty Testapod? Eligos just looks at you blankly like she doesn't know. Any of you, any concept of what has happened to Hesty, or you only know him very briefly now? Yes?
Yes.
Well, we've only
Don't take the
known
piss.
him, only known him a few weeks.
He's not the man that he was. He's not the same person. It bothers me.
Very strange dress sense.
He wears the robes of our order. That is not unusual. It's not unusual. I'm sorry. That wouldn't happen.
Yes, but why?
What is
Why
your
do you think
order?
he's different?
We used to be... He was my student.
Yeah.
We used to have a connection. Eligos, Hesty, studied together.
Right.
I had great hopes. I'm thinking of words with S's in them. I had great hopes for them, but Eligos, as you can see, has become erudite. She has learned. She is part of the community of Evenstar. She's part of our great community of sorcerers. Hesty, he just became obsessed with this can, with these tombs.
He became what?
Obsessed.
What?
Yeah.
Listen.
Let me write it down for you. He looks at one of the wits. One of the wits picks up a little pen, dips it into its mouth, which is full of some sort of ichorus ink, whips out a piece of paper, writes the word obsessed on it, holds it up in front of you. He goes, obsessed. He became obsessed with this. He looks at he
With what?
gestures towards the rod. The rod of Chev and Parch.
The
Yes?
what, sorry?
The rod of Chev and Parch, keep up.
The,
This is not difficult. Do you find it troublesome to understand me?
The what, sorry?
Have you taken leave of your senses?
Leave of what?
He became obsessed with the rod. He became obsessed with those tombs in the Cairn Hills.
But that indicates that he has knowledge of something.
He must understand or know something that we do not, but he became a different person. This is what I'm saying. He abandoned our game. He became estranged. He had dropped our correspondence.
Well, if I understand things correctly...
I didn't have a voice when we started, and now I've got stuck with this fucking voice.
He's turned into a really bad Sean Connery, talking about Commander Bonnie.
It's different.
He's like he's Dutch. Yes, beautiful city of Amsterdam. It's our beautiful city of Amsterdam. We all sit outside, we drink some wine.
Was he your boyfriend?
We smoke some drugs, and then we all have sex, wearing shoes only. Sorry, what was the question? Sorry, what was your question?
The Age of Worms is quite a serious thing, so you can understand why he might become obsessed by it.
I don't think he is obsessed by the Age of Worms. I think he's obsessed by the Rod of Seven Parts. I think he is obsessed by the Windtukes. Yes?
Yeah.
It is all he's ever been interested in. Any opportunity that I've had to correspond with him, to write to him, to bring him here, to talk to him, it's always been rebuffed with this obsession around the hills, around the Cairn, around the Windtukes, around Aqua, around this Rod of Seven Parts. I concede it is part of many prophecies that surround the Age of Worms, this rod. We will talk about this, but he's lost his focus. This is what I'm saying. Anyway, on we must go. I have a bargain for you. Shortly we will talk about the Age of Worms. We will talk about what I know. We will talk about the next step on your quest. But before we must discuss a bargain,
right?
I wish to have this rod. Many years I have coveted this object. I am not obsessed in the same way that Hestia clearly is, but I must have it. I believe it is more danger to you to own it than to dispense of it. I believe that its powers, fragmented as it is, are of little use to you. Whereas for me, it is something that I covet. I freely admit. I have agreed for it. I must own it. We, he encompasses all his wits, must own it. I am prepared to reward you handsomely.
How handsomely?
I offer you a bargain. It is for all of you. You give me this fragment of the Rod of Law, and I give you a choice. You may freely choose your reward from 2 options, and we will find out what those options are.
Okay.
And we will finish this conversation, and you can make your decision about how to deal with Marcus Doombringer and this offer to take the rod off you when we pick things up next week.
But wait a minute, will you remember the accent?
Yes.
Well, I'll do my best.
No wonder Hesty broke up with him.
It's just an English accent, but with funny S's. It's not really Dutch.
The Billowing Hilltop podcast is a Billowing Hilltop production. Dungeons & Dragons is a trademark of Wizards of the Coast. The Spire of Long Shadows and Age of Worms are copyright Paizo. The Spire of Long Shadows was written by Jesse Decker. Music is from Kevin MacLeod and Incompetech.com and is used with thanks under the Creative Commons license. Additional music and sound effects come from the wonderful Sirenscape. All other original material is copyright Billowing Hilltop. Role-playing games are all about getting people together, and we use Roll20 as our tabletop, the perfect place to host your game, and Discord to host our chat. Thanks for listening! Thank you.